Alright, this is John Cola with OKRod.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. As you guys can see, we're in my summer garden. Well, the end of summer because it's pretty much fall now, but my garden is going off. I have more food than I could even eat, and that's how I like it. I like to grow an abundance of better than organic food that in many cases money cannot buy. And that is one of the many topics that I will be discussing in this episode. This episode I'll be sharing with you guys a presentation I gave at the 2023 National Heirloom Expo that took place in Ventura, California. Back in the olden days, I used to see some raw foodists come there. This was the 10th year they've been having it, and I've been speaking there many of the years. I have videos on my Growing Your Greens YouTube channel for gardening. Link down below to that, where I basically give reviews of the Heirloom Expo every single year to share with you guys what you missed. You know, heirlooms and eating many varieties of different fruits and vegetables and other plant foods is quite important to me. But in this episode, I'm going to show you guys literally the download of part of my life. You know, this is what I've learned to sum it up in a 1 hour long video from my raw food journey, right? And I gotta thank and put a shout out to Dawn Weaver, who really enlightened me about 5 years into my raw foods career. You know, I thought I was eating raw foods. I was like, yeah, I'm eating the best diet, it's raw foods. I shop at the local, you know, organic, natural health food stores and maybe get some stuff wholesale, go to some farmers markets and buy food. And yeah, man, I'm eating good. I'm eating the best stuff like money could buy. Until I met, you know, I was talking to Dawn one day, and I think we were at the Living Light Expo in Fort Bragg, California. He had the booth next to me, and he's like, John, try my zucchini. I'm like, dude, I'm not going to eat a plain zucchini. He's like, no, man, try my zucchini. It's really good. And I tried his zucchini straight up, and man, it was like the best tasting zucchini I've never tasted, because I hadn't tasted one ever that good. And I'm like, Don, why is your zucchini so much better than any store-bought or even farmer's market grown zucchini that I've ever eaten? He's like, John, because I grow with rock dust. And I'm like, rock dust? What's that? He's like, I add trace minerals into my soil to fully mineralize my soil to create a mineralized vegetable and fruits, you know, that taste better, that have more nutrition than just standard agriculture, even what is grown and sold at a farmer's market, right? And that literally, while I was growing some things in the periphery of my property to grow some tomatoes, for example, in the summer, I literally converted my front yard to grow as much of my own food as possible. And I still do that to this day. My goal is to grow the most quantity food and highest quality food, and more importantly, food that money cannot buy. I think it is quite sad in this day and age that the majority of people that teach raw foods online do not have a garden. Surely, you know, if people care about their health and want to take their health to the next level, having a garden is one of the best ways to do it. And in this episode, I'm going to show you guys why it's so important to have a garden. Whether you're in a raw foods diet, whether you're eating a plant-based diet, or even whether you're an omnivore, I don't care, man. You guys need to start growing your own food, taking some of the responsibility of the food you eat and growing it yourself so that you could have some benefits. Number one, you can choose the specific varieties. Certain varieties of plants are more nutritious than others in certain respects. So for example, some plants could have more fiber, some plants could have more resistant starch, some could be a better source of water and hydration, some could be a better source of different trace minerals, some could be a better source of different phytonutrients, right? And when you go to the store and buy produce or go to the farmer's market, you are getting dictated to, right? I don't like being dictated to, you know, for anything, but especially with my food, because you could only buy what they grow, right? And if you go to Baker Creek Heirloom Seeds, rareseeds.com, they have over like 5,000 different kinds of heirloom seeds, you know, hundreds of different kinds of tomatoes, all different flavors and colors and everything that you could eat. And there are so many varieties of food that you just never can buy in the grocery store, so you could expand your diversity of plant foods, fibers, phytonutrients, vitamins, and minerals by growing them, number one. Number two, you're going to learn about using the best growing practices so you can maximize the genetic potential, maximize the mineral content of the food, of course, harvesting it fresh and eating it so you have the most vitality and life force. And of course, finally in this video, which was directed at just normal everyday people, not necessarily people that are already into a plant-based, nutrient-dense, raw vegan diet, is how to process the food in the best ways possible, right? Even if you grow the highest quality food and then you take it in and you dump it in an air fryer or, a deep fryer with oil, you're going to lose significant health benefits and even create carcinogens. So that's what I get into in this episode. It's really my download, so I really want you guys to pay attention. I know for some of you guys it's too long because you have short attention spans, but you know what? Your short attention span will bite you in the ass one day because you don't have all the knowledge you need to maximize your health. So if that is you, then I encourage you to look in the bottom corner. There's a little gear thing. You could turn this up to watch it at 2 times speed, where I talk super fast so you could understand everything super quick and get it in half the time. So anyways, without further ado, let's get into my presentation from the 2023 Heirloom Expo. And I surely hope that it benefits you and takes your health to the next level. Hello. All right, thank you. So this is new for me because I like to talk with my hands. In one hand I have my clicker, and one hand I have to hold the mic today. So it'll be kind of fun for me because I don't normally use mics. But all right, so my name is John Kohler, and how many of you guys follow me on YouTube or watch my YouTube already? Wow, so a good percentage, maybe like half and half. So half of you guys don't know me. So I mean, basically in this talk today, it's gonna be a summary of my life, basically. And it's maximizing your health through gardening. That's specifically why I got into gardening. Yeah, some people got into gardening to grow their own food, to save money, or whatever, but I got into gardening specifically to have better health because I saw how the food system was failing me and not providing me the quality of the food that I wanted to get the health benefits from the food. So what I've been doing all these years, little by little, since I've been, have my YouTube channel now for 15 years, I've been gardening probably for 20 years, but more than that, even 28 years ago, that's when I did major dietary changes to improve my health because I almost lost my life. And that's what I'll be summarizing, all the major points that I really want you guys to take home in this talk today and hopefully apply in your life so that you can have a better level of health, much better than the average American that's not growing their food. But there's even specific things you could do as a gardener to increase your health more. And nobody really teaches this. This is my specific area of specialty. I mean, there's other gardeners here that know more than me about this or that, but I like to have a wide, breadth of knowledge and making so many videos and visiting different worm farms and visiting different farms and learning stuff and showing how I grow in the desert heat in Las Vegas. That's where I currently live, as well as tending to my garden in Northern California. All right, so the first slide, if we could advance it here. All right. So the introduction, and I guess I could read the screen here because I don't want to look back and keep my eyes on the audience here. So why did I get started in gardening and eating healthfully? And it was out of necessity, not for fun or any other reason. Well, when I was in my 20s, I had spinal meningitis. I was hospitalized, and the doctor said I might not make it out alive. And it was up to higher powers to get me through that situation because the doctor had no treatment for me. And I didn't, at that time, when I was younger, I was like, man, I'm not supposed to get hospitalized and get sick till I'm 60. And I mean, now I know, man, that's not supposed to happen until you're 100. But nonetheless, it shouldn't really, we could avoid it. Look at the blue zones, and they live a full life, and they're still kicking at 100, doing stuff. But that's why I really got into gardening, because I basically almost lost my life. And at that point, I asked the doctors when I was leaving the hospital, because they couldn't fix me. And at that point, I also thought about the whole medical system, how maybe they could help some people, but they couldn't help me, and I didn't like to be in a position where I was not in control of my own health destiny, because I had to leave it up to them to get me better, because I was maybe not living the healthiest lifestyle. And I mean, I thought I ate pretty good. I didn't eat red meat. I read the ingredient labels and watched all the things I ate, but I still got sick. And I asked the doctor, hey, why did I get sick in the first place? And they said, you have what's called complement immune deficiency. You have a chronically weak immune system, which they blamed on my genes at the time, and I don't really know much about all that kind of stuff. But all I knew is that I knew I needed to build my immune system after I left the hospital, because he said you could have a reoccurrence, and we'll give you this vaccine to protect you in the future against one strain of the meningitis, but there's many strains out there. And I'm like, well, I thought to myself, you couldn't help me from my meningitis that I got, so why would I want this one vaccine to protect me against one when there's all these other ones out there? Anyways, we won't go into vaccines because that can be controversial, I suppose. But nonetheless, I got out of there, and then I knew I needed to build my immune system, and I didn't know how to do that because I majored in marketing and business, which I have a degree in. And I got out of the hospital, and basically, one thing led to another, and I saw a Juice Man infomercial on TV, and I ended up buying the juicer because on the infomercial, the Juice Man said, hey, juicing could build your immune system, have more energy, and all the benefits that he will list off. And actually, that's one of the reasons why, you know, to this day, I sell juicers, because it helped me so much in my life. I'm not just, I wouldn't just sell anything, but the juicer has personally helped me, and I've seen it help so many other people. And it's not that the juicer is any kind of magic. What it is, it's basically a vegetable concentrator. And you can use it to concentrate fruits, I don't recommend that. But it's a vegetable concentrator, and allows you to eat more of the vegetables, especially leafy green vegetables that most Americans do not eat to get their health benefits. You can turn 1 pound of greens into 1 cup of juice and drink it, and basically it's pre-digested because you're removing the fiber that makes it hard for us to digest, because if you don't have stomachs set up like cows to digest grass, you can even use wheatgrass. Anyways, I'm getting off topic. So I had to start on changing my diet and making going to a plant-based fruit and vegetable raw food diet, which is, arguably one of the healthiest diets out there, although looking back at it, I was doing it very unhealthily, learning more as I went on in my journey. But nonetheless, the goal is you got to eat more fruits and vegetables, and most people don't simply eat enough. And so then another thing that I've learned, because I listened to Tony Robbins back in the day, I learned about Kanai, which he talks about, and it's constant and never-ending improvement. And that has been a guiding light in my life philosophy on how can I always improve and do better. Even if I'm doing this good now, hey, is there something I could do and not close my mind off to, like, the raw food diet's the best diet, I don't need to learn about anything else because everything else is garbage according to what I was taught or dogma or whatever. But like, how can I improve this? So like, even when I was on a raw, vegan, plant-based diet, how can I improve my diet? Well, I could improve the quality of the food I was eating, and that's really what got me into gardening. Because I was, into eating a plant-based raw diet before I got into gardening. Then I got into gardening to basically take me up a notch in my raw food diet to have better quality food than anybody else I knew, because they were just still going to the farmer's market or, going in and buying industrial food, whether organic or conventional. And so then I've been doing personal ongoing research on how to eat and maximize health and extend longevity, because that's been my goal. My goal is like, this is a negative goal, but like it's guided me to like not be back in the hospital. And maybe that was my goal in the younger years, but once I knew I built my immune system up so that I would be back in the hospital, now I'm more about like, hey, how can I have a healthier lifespan and healthier health span? So your lifespan is how long you live, but your health span is like, hey, how active are you? I mean, the people in some of the blue zones are still like working in their garden when they're 100, walk into the village every day and doing stuff. But like people here, when they get old, they're like, you put them in a adult home and they're in a wheelchair, and then when the adult home or whatever, the senior homes, they're feeding them garbage food, like all the processed garbage, and it kills them even faster. Anyways, so the topic today I'm going to be talking about is 3 ways to increase your health by gardening, a topic that many people probably don't really talk about, but this has been my area of interest, and one of my focuses on, hey, how can I improve my health through my garden? And these are the 3 main ways that I want you guys to do, and it's not rocket science. It's by making small little changes in the seeds you select, in how you tend for your plants, and how you process the food once you grow it. You can maximize the health benefits of the plants that we're eating. So number 1 is choose specific crops for its health benefits, grow to increase plant nutrients, and then more importantly, and this is the area I really specialize in more than anybody else in my opinion, because I sell machines that allow me to process the food in the best ways, and I go to the trade shows and I experiment a lot and look up a lot of published studies to see what the researchers in the world are actually doing to do that, is process plants to minimize nutrient loss and maximize their phytonutrient or secondary plant metabolites, for those of you guys that are like more into like the science on plants, but how can those affect us? So that's what I'll be covering this talk today. So of course the first way is by choosing crops for the most benefit, okay? And one of the things I like to talk about is we're so reductionist in our society. John, I just want to know the best leafy green to eat because that's the only one I want to eat because I don't like leafy greens, but if you tell me cannabis is the best or kale is the best, I'm just going to eat that one. And yes, you can eat cannabis leaves. They're quite delicious. I love to eat them so much. And every resident of California, I guess unless you're in certain cities, you can grow 6 plants legally. Nonetheless, so what I'm going to say is, and I'm a cannabis advocate, but I'm not a cannabis intoxication user, if that makes sense. I don't like to get intoxicated from cannabis, but I'm an advocate for eating it for its medicinal but non-psychoactive benefits. I want to make that clear, because somebody came up to me and she was upset that I was promoting cannabis, but I don't promote cannabis like most people who promote cannabis promote it. And I don't care if you want to use hemp or cannabis, but I really would like to have a spectrum of the cannabinoids, especially high CBD and not necessarily high THC, which unfortunately the industry's been breeding for high THC content, and we're losing the genetics of the more wild strains that have higher of the other cannabinoids. That's a whole different topic that I won't get into. But anyways, in my opinion, on all my life learning, I'm going to say there's no one beneficial crop or food you need to eat that you're going to get magical benefits from, but it's the synergistic effect of all the different plants that make different compounds for their benefit, not ours, but when we eat them, we can get the benefits from them, okay? And then, so John, how do I know the best vegetables to grow? And what I'm going to say on that is, it really depends on what your goals are. I mean, there are plants that are more anti-cancer than others. So for example, you know, the cruciferous family, especially broccoli sprouts, the allium family, onion sprouts, are known and have many published studies on their anti-cancer benefits. And you know, yeah, okay, maybe even wild lettuces could be anti-cancer, but they're not quite as strong for the cancer than, you know, the brassica family or the onion family are. So I mean, also you could get, like, you could go so crazy, you could get a genetic testing to see what you're more predisposed to. So if you have like a woman and you're more predisposed to breast cancer, you could really ramp up your anti-cancer vegetables you're eating, and maybe, you know, you would eat less iceberg and eat more kale, for example, right? So everything's so variable. And what I've learned over time in the summary of this page is nuance. The science is nuanced. There's no one right, no one that. Somebody walks up to me and says, John, what's the best juicer? And I'm like, well, what are your goals with juicing? Do you want the highest yield? Do you not juice because you have the best juicer but it's too hard to clean, you never use it, so you better get this one that's easy that you throw everything in, that I'll be talking about in a little bit. You shut the lid, you walk away, and you come back and your juice is made for you, like a coffee maker, right? Everything's so nuanced. But anyways, getting back to so then I like to get into this, like, which most people never think about. In vegetables, you might think, oh, vegetables are full of vitamins and minerals, but vegetables are full of lots of different nutrients, and so these are some of the main compounds in vegetables. Carbohydrates, and that's like, you know, people think carbohydrates, they think, you know, potatoes or something, but yeah, all the fiber, the starch, and the sugar provide energy and contribute to digestive health. And as I've gone on further, I thought, oh, you know, the carbohydrates just give us the fuel to fuel our bodies, but they're more than that, because most people don't know or don't realize that the carbohydrates also feed our microbiome to make it healthier, and that's something that I neglected as somebody who was eating a raw vegan diet, because I was eating for me, not my microbiome, which I'll talk about in a little bit and why that's important. And of course, you know, vegetables also have vitamins and A, C, or beta carotene, and various B vitamins, and they're essential for a healthy immune system. Minerals, you know, depending on how many minerals that you're adding to the soil or in your soil will be how much minerals are actually in the food. Minerals are quite important for many different reactions in our body, I'll say. And of course, the one that most interesting to me that I think can have the most benefits are the phytonutrients, you know, maybe secondary plant metabolites, but these are, vegetables contain phytonutrients such as flavonoids, carotenoids, anthocyanins. They have antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties which can help prevent chronic disease such as cancer and heart disease. So this is all published research science. This is like, you know, they got lycopene, they got beta carotene, there's all these big fancy words, you know, BITCs, isothiocyanate, I could just keep going on all these crazy ones, but you don't really need to know them all. What you need to know is that you need to eat a variety of vegetables and fruits to get all these nutrients, because every plant of a different color makes different nutrients. And then of course, we cannot forget that plant foods, you know, especially fruits and vegetables, are rich in water. You know, they're like watermelon. I mean, it's called watermelon. It's like 96% water or something. Bananas are less. Bananas are like 70%. But the plants filter the water, so I mean, I don't like drinking bottled water, which I'm drinking because I was thirsty and I didn't bring a juice over. But the vegetables and the fruits basically filter the water, so you don't have to drink, you know, something filtered by man, or even worse, unfiltered by man, right? And it also adds the different vitamins and minerals and some carbohydrates and phytonutrients in with the juice. So it's structured living water that Dr. Pollack, I think he's out of like Oregon, will say, well, what hydrates you better? Because it has an extra hydrogen atom in it. And then also, actually, drinking hydrogen water could also be an antioxidant. They studied it in Japan. So anyways, like, vegetables are amazing as well as the fruits are. So let's keep going. So here's the thing. So like, if it's important for you to have carbohydrates, like some people are on a high carbohydrate diet, and you just focus on the carbs, then you're going to grow certain plants that have more carbohydrates that can be beneficial to us than others. So if you want to focus on prebiotic fiber carbohydrates, then you want to grow things that contain inulin and fructooleosaccharides, or galactooleosaccharides, which is GOS, that's actually in beans. The fructooleosaccharides and inulin are like in Jerusalem artichokes, as they're known as artichokes, because they are feeding your probiotics, and then they go nuts, and then they create the gas. So Jerusalem artichokes. Chicory root, also another really good one to feed your microbiome, these carbohydrates, the garlic, onions, and beans, of course. But the goal is to not focus on any one component, but to eat a variety of different foods so you get all these components, so you're going to meet all your nutritional needs. So if you eat like a limited diet, like a potato-only diet, you're going to become deficient in some nutrients that are not in potatoes, for example. So then if you want to eat for vitamins, some of my favorite vitamin-rich plant foods are bell peppers. They're very high in vitamin C, one of the highest in vitamin C, actually, more than oranges, vitamin A and folate. Sweet potato, I gotta mention my purple sweet potatoes, I love those a lot. And then, of course, things like broccoli. For minerals, I recommend leafy greens as well as their stems. So how many people eat their leafy green stems? So maybe you could chop them up and eat them if they're tender and young. You can cook them up, but I like to juice them to basically squeeze all the nutrients out. And in the leafy greens themselves, they actually contain more phytochemicals, but the stems concentrate a lot of the minerals, which is fun. And then, of course, you can grow for phytonutrients. So purple vegetables are rich in anthocyanins, tomatoes are rich in lycopene, as are watermelons. And there's so many different phytonutrients, so the goal with that is to eat more colorful foods, especially dark pigmented foods. I mean, they're always saying blueberries are a superfood. Well, I recommend wild blueberries over regular blueberries. They have even a higher anthocyanin content. I get mine at Trader Joe's. They have organic or pesticide-free there. Wild blueberries, which are amazing. And then, of course, if you're growing for water, cucumbers are 96% water, watermelons up to 92% water. So they're really rich in water and can help keep you hydrated along with the drinking, water when you need it. So like in the summer, I drink mostly green juices, including cucumber, celery, greens from my garden. I juice romaine heads, ashitaba, and I drink 1 quart a day of my greens to get living structured water along with many different phytochemicals and carbohydrates, vitamins, and minerals. And then, so let's go into this, like, what seeds should you choose for the most nutrition? So these are my tips for choosing seeds for the most nutrition. Number one, you want to choose a variety of fruits and vegetables, because the slide before showed that some fruits and vegetables have more of this nutrient than that nutrient, or one component of them. So if you only grow tomatoes, and you're getting a lot of nutrients in tomatoes, but you're missing the nutrients in Jerusalem artichokes or in carrots that are a little bit different. And then you want to choose varieties you don't normally eat. I know a lot of Americans get into the habit of going to the grocery store once a week, and every week they get their iceberg lettuce, their bananas, their ragu spaghetti sauce, and some meat or whatever else they're getting. And then next week, you eat all that stuff during the week, and then you go back to the store next week, and you get the same exact thing. So you're really restricting the amount of different nutrients you're getting. And so my goal when I go to the grocery store is, I see what's on sale and organic. Then that's what I buy, because it's cheaper, and then that basically enforces me to rotate my diet, because every week they don't have the same items on sale. It's like what's in season, they're selling for cheaper because they have too much of it and they want to move it out. Of course, I also go out to my garden and see what's ripe and ready to eat and what I have to eat then, and I eat seasonally. So generally, I don't tend to eat a lot of just the standard spinach, the American spinach, too much outside the wintertime, because that's when I grow it, and the stuff at the store is garbage. As many of you guys know that grow your own spinach. And then I want you guys to choose deeply colored crops. So like I said, the purple, the reds, oranges, definitely, grow some purple cauliflower instead of the white cauliflower. Grow the green cauliflower romanesco instead of the white one. And even, I like to grow the purple broccolis that are have a purple tinge to them. they're going to be more nutritious. And then don't forget several types of leafy greens, and while we call them leafy greens, I like to say leafy reds because a lot of the plants I'm growing that are leaves are red. So during the winter time, I pretty much grow like 80%, 75% like red lettuces instead of the standard green lettuces, as you'll see why they're more nutritious in the next slide or two. Also, like during the summer, my favorite crop this year I'm growing is the cranberry hibiscus. I mean, that thing has deep, purple leaves, and it just grows like a weed. It's been growing for a weed for me in the desert. It just grows amazingly, and I love it so much. So next slide. So this is why it's important to select the seeds properly when you buy them, instead of just haphazardly buying certain crops. So the first chart, the one that's the black and the white bars, that's basically they tested different lettuces for their polyphenols and flavonoid content. And you can see the iceberg is the lowest, the lettuce that is most eaten by Americans. It's terrible. Now, it's still more nutritious than other things in the world, but if you go to butterhead, hey, that's a little bit of an improvement. It goes up a little bit. Then you go to romaine. Hey, romaine's twice as nutritious as butterhead and iceberg, but hey, everybody loves butterhead because it's so tender, right? And here's the secret with the lettuces. When you buy lettuces and when you choose to grow them, you want to grow open head lettuces instead of closed head. Why are open head lettuces more nutritious than closed head? Because they have more solar panels to collect the sun rays, to get the chlorophyll, to photosynthesize, to make more nutrients for you guys. So, if you look, iceberg's the lowest. Romaine a little bit higher, but then if you go to the green coral, which is like an opening lettuce, that kicks ass even over romaine, so like a nice head lettuce. And then you go to the red coral lettuce that's not even deep red like the outrageous lettuce or some of the ones that Baker Creek sells that I've grown in the past. And it just kicks butt, dude. It's 15 times more polyphenol rich than an iceberg or a butterhead. So by choosing to grow, even if you're choosing just the red coral over the romaine, look at the big jump in nutrition, right? 15 times more, could be maybe 10 or whatever. You're going to significantly get more nutrition by choosing the right crops to grow. And yeah, what's the difference between growing? They taste about the same to me. Do they taste different to you, red lettuces or green? They taste about the same to me. I can't really discern a difference, but our bodies will know it because there's more nutrition. It'll be more anti-inflammatory, give you more health benefits. Maybe, there's studies that talk about like helping with metabolic syndrome, and of course the anthocyanins will also feed our gut microbiome, especially our Akkermansia bacteria, that many people may be deficient in. Of course, my favorite crop in Baker Creek has some really amazing deep black nebula purple carrots, right? And here's purple versus orange carrots. Actually, this study, they tested orange versus white versus purple carrots, and you can see the difference in the outer and inner tissue. So the interesting thing is, if you look at the inner tissue and the outer tissue, right? What do they say? They say most nutrients are on or near the skin, and this study totally shows that the red line is the outer tissue where the skin is, and the inner flesh of the carrot, has significantly less of the phytochemicals and phytonutrients in there. So one graph shows the total polyphenol content, the other graph shows the total flavonoid content, and the last three are the purple varieties that just, really kick butt over the other ones. Not to say the other ones aren't good and you should just only grow purple and forget about the yellow or the white ones or the red carrots. You should grow all of them, but definitely try to, focus on having more purple. And, especially if you're leaving it to the industrial food system, it is very difficult to find purple carrots to buy in the store. If you don't grow them, it's highly unlikely you're going to be able to find them yourself. The best place to find them maybe might be Trader Joe's. They sell a multicolor pack. You could be like me and go in the store and go through all the packs and pick out the one that has 7 purple carrots instead of 2. But don't go after me because you ain't finding no purple carrots, man. I do that with the organic potatoes, the little small potatoes, because I don't grow all my potatoes yet either. But I'll go through all the bags that have the little baby potatoes, and I'll pick out the bag that has like 80% purple ones, because I don't want the other ones. Because they're way more, because I can do a chart with this, with purple potatoes versus russets. Everything, the purple is always going to kick ass on these polyphenols and flavonoids, okay? So you can see, you're learning how just choosing different color of produce. And actually, they've done studies with russets versus purple potatoes and blood sugar response. So, there was a more of an effect where you had a higher spike with the russets than the purple potatoes. The russet potatoes affected your blood sugar negatively, according to a published study, but the purple potatoes actually helped your blood sugar go in the other direction.
But what do most Americans eat? They eat mostly russets turned into French fries, which is the worst way, in my opinion, to process fries to negate the benefits of the potatoes. So I think if McDonald's should start serving purple potatoes fried up. I think people would be like, what's that? That's weird. They'll never eat it. Because people like what they like anyways. And I still wouldn't eat it. I still wouldn't eat it at McDonald's. Sorry. All right, so here's some of my favorite vegetables that they have. You know, Baker Creek will sell you actually. So of course the black purple carrots, they're purple all the way through. Some purple carrots you're gonna buy have like a core of yellow or orange. Of course I like the Italco Rosso Dandelion. Why? Because it has the red stems. Not only does it have inulin in there to feed our gut microbiome, but now we got the red pigments from the stems of the dandelion instead of standard green stem. We got the black cherry tomatoes, which have more of the, the purple colorant. Of course, you can get some indigo rose tomatoes they came up with in Oregon. The scarlet kale, one of my favorite for the winter grown. Deep purple leaves, and also these things look amazing in your garden. So like when I plant things out, I'll do like a checkerboard pattern. So I'll do like one purple, one green, one purple, one green. So when they come up, it looks just like pretty like a like some landscape designer, which I'm not. Plus it like breaks it up because your garden's always green. I try to have my garden like mostly purple, especially in the wintertime. Summertime gets more difficult. Of course, red onions over white onions or yellow onions, which are still quite healthy. And do not underestimate the eggplant, right? I like the little fingers eggplant because there's some good skin on it, and actually the anthocyanins in the eggplants, they have lots of anthocyanin content, even though it's just in the skin. And my favorite way to cook that is just in the Instant Pot for like 0 minutes just to get it soft enough to eat. I eat them plain. I don't make baba ganoush, or I don't even know how to do all that stuff because I just cook it for the nutrient content. And the longer you cook stuff at the hotter temperature, especially when it's dry, you're going to drop nutrients and you're going to potentially create carcinogens as well. So these are the two most important points to remember about crop selection. I want you to consider buying for phytonutrients. So they provide health protective effects to feed us and our microbiome, such as flavonoids, polyphenols, anthocyanins, and others. So now, aside from the benefits for us, we got to ask ourselves, why are these compounds in the plants? Why do the plants aren't put in there so that we can eat them, and then we can get anti-cancer and anti-disease, anti-heart disease, and all these benefits? It puts it in there for themselves, because the plants, I think they're greedy, but I've never talked to one, because they want to survive and they want to reproduce. So all these secondary plant metabolites are in the plant to help it protect it from stress, from the weather, from the cold, from the bugs, disease. Some bugs don't like to eat different polyphenols or flavonoids. That's like a repellent to them. I mean, think about some of the smells and the herbs, right? These are all, like flavonoids and things that repels the insects from eating the herbs and can give us the health beneficial effects. So I'm also saying, in a way, that when you choose these deeper color plants, they may get less pest damage and whatnot, because they're bred to have these nutrients in there that are there for them so that they could survive, reproduce like they want to. And of course, we don't want to forget that we want to take into consideration when we choose the plants we're going to grow is that can these foods feed our microbiome, which is basically, once we eat the food, we digest certain nutrients out of it. It continues down our digestive system, and then all the roughage goes down and then feeds our microbiome. Actually, I think a lady here had a talk yesterday about it, which I missed, which I was sad. But most people don't consider this, and I found it to be critically important because the bacteria and other beneficial microbes inside us help us digest the food that we don't. And there's different soluble fibers such as inulin, FOS, QS, and resistant starch, considered a functional fiber. And why this is important is because the second part of our digestive system, before it comes out on the other end, the bacteria break down the food that we could not absorb, and they create short-chain fatty acids as well as other nutrients for us that feed us. So like if you have a leaky gut, it is said that if you have low butyrate in your gut, you're going to have leaky gut because the butyrate helps to repair our stomach lining. And so are you eating the foods that will help you have the bacteria that will make the butyrate? So then why I'm really talking about this is because I did what's called a microbiome test. I've done 4 so far already, and I got it at actually ombrelab.com for the human microbiome test. People send off their soil to a lab. You can put your soil under a microscope if you're into farming. You can see how many microbes are in your soil and fungi and whatnot. But you can do that to your gut. So you send a little poop sample in, and the company emails you, "We got your poop and we're currently testing it. It'll be another month before we get your results." Anyways, I thought that was funny. Like, they're testing my poop. They're excited about it. I'm excited to get poop too. anyways, they tested my poop, and then you get a report that you could look on their website for the breakdown. But then what they do that's even more valuable is that you could download the CSV, whatever comma separated values of all the bacteria in your gut, and then you can re-upload that to different websites that analyze it better, such as microbiomeprescription.com, or the one that I specifically use because it's easy for the layperson to understand, which is me, is biomesite.com. And if you upload it to Biomesite, then they go really deep. They say you have this many bacteria. These bacteria are known to make the butyrate. These bacteria are known to make the acetate. These bacteria are known to make the propionate. And my propionate and acetate is kicking butt, like way better than the average person. But my butyrate is maybe a little bit, like 10 points below the average person. So they compare you against averages. Microbiome science is brand new, so now they're just comparing you against healthy average people, which they're still trying to figure out what's exactly the best. But I will tell you the thing that's been correlated with longevity and health, for one, is diversity. So when I got my test at first, I was 750 different species of beneficial microbes inside me. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't really change much. I did a second test. I had 750. Then I'm like, man, you changed a little bit of things, and you still got the same 750. And like, maybe if you're healthy, you might have 1,000. You might have 1,000. Maybe some people have less. I don't know how much you guys will have. But then I changed more, and I got more serious. I got up to 850, and my last test now is 950. So my goal is to get over 1,000, because long-lived people that live in, the blue zones have like 1,000 and more. Even importantly than that, they have specific bacteria that scientists say that help them have a longer life, because now they're more resilient against diseases. I mean, and as you guys know, you may have heard this before, our immune system is like 70% in our gut, because it's all the microbes that relate to our bodies that help us make our immunity. So, I mean, if you want to have a strong immune system, I mean, you should really focus on your microbiome. And so we know, as farmers, people focus on their microbiome of their soil, putting compost teas. That's what we do, compost teas, and the different inoculants and different, substrates and things to make our soil good. But hey, what are you doing for your gut microbiome, right? So yeah, you could use coupon code ROMANCE for $10 off. With the coupon code, it costs you $90. The company does not sponsor me, but I think that everybody should get tested, at least know where they're at. They'll give you some general recommendations that may help, but then you could also go deeper and look into the science if you're like me. And actually, if you're curious about my microbiome test, because I just went over a little bit, I have an hour-long presentation where I basically show you how I got my test, show you how to download the data, show you how to upload the data, and then I go over it with screenshots or with the actual screen, and I explain everything on there so you guys could understand better about it if you're curious. So moving on. So yeah, this really got me thinking differently about the crops I'm choosing, because I never before considered my microbiome when I'm choosing the foods to eat, or more importantly, even to grow. And then I'm at least, man, thank God, I'm like, I've been growing Jerusalem artichokes all these years because it's easy, but then I found out it's like one of my top foods that I should be eating for my microbiome. And what I'll tell you is that every microbiome test I've seen from my friends, every one of them, they say you should eat more Jerusalem artichokes. How many of you guys grow Jerusalem artichokes? More of you guys need to grow it. It's super simple, super easy. They will take over an area, so just know that and plan accordingly. All right, so that's about choosing the right selection and why I got into choosing the right season, why it's important to me. Now we're going to talk about an area that I'm not a super expert in, but I know a lot more than most people, is we want to use the best growing practices to grow the plants, because when you grow the plants using the best practices, they will increase, you increase the genetic potential of them to have more of the secondary plant metabolites or the phytochemicals that they make to protect themselves against pests and bugs and stressors, but also will be in there for us to eat, right? So, of course, the most common commercial fertilizers use NPK. There's a bag of all-purpose 10-10-10. Do not recommend that. That will not yield the highest level of nutrients in your food, unfortunately. It'll grow food, it'll look good, but it's not going to be nutritious. And then, of course, some farms, like in standard agriculture, which I did not go to agriculture school, they may add 15 to 16 minerals as determined by science that plants quote unquote need. I mean, that's definitely better than adding 3, which is focused on, but not as good as adding many more that I think can be quite helpful that would naturally occur in nature. And unfortunately, even organic farmers may not have the best fertility practices because organic is a whole system of rules of what you can't do. It doesn't say what you should be doing. So even organic farmers, as much as I support organic when I'm buying things at the grocery store because I don't grow my food yet, you know, it's better than conventional in my opinion, but it's still a far leap from where we would like to be. And of course, we talk about seed selection, right? I talk about selecting your own seeds for their phytonutrient and maybe resistant starch or the components that are important to you, but farmers select the seeds that they're going to grow based on, hey, is this going to spoil on the way to market? Can I harvest these tomatoes 2 months early, ship them green, and will they kind of turn pink, and then they could bounce so they don't spoil and I don't lose the profit, right? The whole industry, unfortunately, and even in heirlooms, unfortunately, are not necessarily grown for their polyphenol or flavonoid content. So you have to really, there's some people that are doing this kind of work, and I think they need to be more featured because that's really the combination of plant genetics and breeding and human health. Of course, some plants naturally have higher polyphenols and flavonoids and phytonutrients than others, so I would encourage people to look at those. But yeah, don't leave it up to the standard agriculture system to select the right seeds or even use the right growing practices. So that's why you guys are all empowered as your own farmer to make some minor tweaks to your programs to take you up to the next notch. And of course, standard agriculture could use toxic pesticides and sprays, and things like glyphosate have been shown to kill your microbiome. So even if you're eating organic oats that are not glyphosate pre-tested, which the oats I buy are glyphosate pre-tested, right? A couple years ago, organic oats, they tested them and they had some glyphosate contamination. So you can't even trust a label unless you do it yourself. So I need to friend up with somebody that grows oats on a wide scale and other grains and get it from them. And I've met some amazing grain growers that use rock dust and all the practices I recommend, of course. So yeah, don't do these, but you want to use the best. So anyways, so what does the standard growing practices net in actual real world? So, you know, the USDA has been complying data on nutritional content of food since the 1800s, and studies show that foods today have less nutrition than of yesteryear. So here's the average mineral content in selected vegetables from 1914 to 1997. I haven't updated this in a few years, but you can see the mineral content just dives off crazily. And I mean, I'm sure it's either staying the same or even depleting now because farming practices as a whole, unfortunately, have not improved. And this is, of course, is organic versus conventional, and this is just comparing the minerals in organic versus conventional. And I don't have to tell you guys that you know, generally organic has more minerals than conventional, and even more importantly than just the minerals, talking about the phytochemicals, the reason why the organics will generally always have more phytochemicals than the conventional is because when you're spraying on pesticides on the plants so that the plants are resistant to bugs and pests and disease, the plants they get lazy. They don't need to, I'm not getting bug damage, so I don't have to create phytochemicals to prevent the bugs from attacking me. So that's really one of the keys on why buying organic is essentially important if you're into your health, not only to, you know, avoid the pesticides, but now to have higher polyphenols and flavonoids, which the plants produce as secondary plant metabolites to protect itself from the pests that, you know, that if they're using less, you know, sprays and stuff on organic, the plants are forced to make it themselves. And then this is a chart showing that as minerals go down in food, which are one component of the food, so I want you guys to have a holistic approach. I mean, I'm kind of tend to be like gravitate towards phytochemicals are the king and queen, but we must not forget that even minerals are quite important to many different systems in our body. If you're mineral deficient in chromium and vanadium, you're more likely to have diabetes from some of the studies, for example. But I mean, you can see some of the different conditions. If you have a heart condition, and I'm not saying that because you're mineral deficient you have this heart condition, but it can contribute to it. So of course, if you have any kind of condition, don't just start growing with these minerals and eating it figuring you're going to be fine. See a doctor, because I'm not one. But nonetheless, I mean, there's correlation between if you're deficient in magnesium, for example, you're more likely to have asthma. And as time has gone on, the asthma has increased over time. As is, I mean, when I was a kid, like I was the only kid that had asthma, and I know why, because I wasn't breastfed as a child. My microbiome, I believe, didn't form properly, which also I've looked up in studies that Nestle has paid for when they're trying to basically put HMOs or human milk oleosaccharides, which build your beneficial bifidobacteria, which then Nestle showed that if you don't feed the kids HMOs, which should come from breast milk, but some ladies are non-producers, then they're more likely to have asthma, allergies, and autoimmune condition, which is exactly what I had, which then led me to almost lose my life because my mom didn't breastfeed me, damn it. And so I can't change that now, but I can change what I'm doing now. And for all you ladies that are going to have kids or can still have kids, please breastfeed them. And more importantly, make sure that you are an HMO producer, because some women don't produce HMOs. There's up to 200 different kinds of HMOs, which stands for human milk oligosaccharides, yet another prebiotic that does not appear in foods, but we can make it, right? And the women should give it to their baby so that their microbiome forms properly, and so they won't have autoimmune and asthma. And of course, as people breastfeed less, as declining minerals go down, this goes into an avalanche of causing more disease than ever today, than ever. One of the reasons, I'm not saying all disease is caused by this, but it's a contributing factor that I believe is huge, and nobody discusses this stuff. And I've had the experience this for myself, learned from the School of Hard Knocks, to see, hey, how can I teach people about what didn't happen to me or what I didn't learn to make a difference with other people's health, so that they don't almost lose their life or have asthma and adaptive PE when they're, kids, have skin condition, all this stuff.
John, I have a comment.
If you could say,
you were talking about the microbiome.
Yes.
There's a woman who totally reversed her child's autism.
Yes, so that's why I'm working on my microbiome. It's so important.
I've seen that was one of the major.
Exactly. Microbiome is critical to your health for many, especially ADHD. I mean, so many things these days. Your brain health, depression. I have videos where I talk about how it's linked to almost every organ system in our body. Microbiome imbalance could cause many different diseases. Not to say that anybody's disease is caused by that, but it's a contributing factor and can really turn things around for people. So anyways, let's just talk about how the minerals affect your health, and phytochemicals as well as microbiome can affect it as well. So I don't want you guys to grow inferior quality foods. Standard organic practices are not enough. I know a lot of people may use just compost manure, and you're like, okay, I got compost manure on there, which is what most organic farmers do, and I'm going to grow high quality food. Well, I don't believe that's enough, and you should be doing more than just compost and more manure, to fertilize your crops. And this is what I get into. The gardeners, as gardeners and growing your own food, you control the seeds you select, you control the practices you use, and you can make, better decisions on the soil practices. So I recommend adding the trace minerals, as I did, here at the show. That's a product I use most to add A to Z of minerals, of trace minerals in small, minute amounts, so that your plants have it available to absorb, and they can absorb it in small, minute amounts. And these trace minerals, different ones can have very minute effects in the plants, but they'll overall, after they're broken down, will have a pretty good benefit on better growth and more nutritious food. Of course, aside from that, you can visit Josh at Boogie Brew. He'll sell you the sea minerals, which you can spray onto your plants. Don't spray too much, because the salt content can kill your plants. I'm still trying to get Josh to sell the product that has the salt removed. That's from the ocean, but it's in a liquid, and he doesn't like the liquids. He only likes to sell solids, because he doesn't like to ship liquids, and he doesn't like things in plastic. But, so you want to add the sea minerals, and if you're super cheap, you don't want to buy the agricultural grade stuff. You can just go to your local health food store in the bulk bin and get real sea salt from, France or whatever, and you dilute 1 teaspoon to 1 gallon of water, and then boil or feed. Don't do that more than a month. And that'll even give you some trace minerals. Not as good as the agricultural grade stuff, but that'll at least help out a little bit. And of course, I like things like soil humates, as well as kelp powders. There's a really good kelp powder over at the Organic Egg Products. It's Ed Zybura. He's selling this kelp powder 1 pound for $10, and he normally sells it for $30. And that 1 pound of dry kelp powder will turn into, it'll be equivalent to 22 gallons of the jugs that come in water. So that's another way to add the minerals, because where does all the minerals wash into? The minerals wash into the sea from the land, because we bleached it all out of topsoil and we're not putting the right stuff in. So the sea still has all the minerals that we could use in our gardens, or the rocks. The sea is a more fast-acting approach because it's more broken down than the rocks that then have the bacteria have to act upon. So number 1 is trace minerals. Number 2, you want to focus on the microbiome of the soil. Up until now, I talked about the microbiome of us, but I was into the microbiome of the soil even before I just started doing my microbiome testing. And that's super important. And what I've seen deficient in a lot of places is the fungal networks in the soil. Bacteria is easy. You make a hot compost, which is what most composts are that you buy, windrow composting. You get a lot of bacterial, compost, bacterial-dominated compost, but nobody really focuses on the fungal compost. I don't think there's any fungal compost here for sale, but that's basically the slow wood chip compost that might take a couple, 3 years to make, that decays with the, the white, mycelium threads in there and whatnot. Super important. If you can't make your own wood chip compost and let it degrade for a couple years, then you could buy like worm castings, which are generally higher in fungal compost. So my favorite worm casting is there's Organic Solutions, and actually I'm driving home to Vegas with a truckload, or not a whole truckload, but a whole bunch of bags, at least 10 bags of the worm castings here, because I can't get that good quality worm castings. And that'll add some of the biology. Of course, you could do the wood chip based humus compost, so that's basically breaking down wood chips. So you could buy it, which is hard to find. And of course, compost teas and other inoculants to add bacteria and the microbes to your soil to bring up your level. And there's soil scientists and people here talking about soil microbes that know more than me, but I'm just the average dude, and what I do is I try to do a shotgun approach. I add a lot of the microbes, and I let them figure out who's going to survive and who's going to die in my garden. But if you go to Vegas, right, it's a shotgun approach. If there's an intruder coming in your house, you take a shotgun, put it in this general area, you're going to hit them. But if you got a 9mm, you got to hit them pretty close on, and you miss, right? If you go to the smorgasbord in Las Vegas, there's food that everybody will like to eat, right? If you got picky eaters, right? And for me, I'll just shotgun all the different microbes and everything works out, and I do pretty good. If you don't want to get into the deep, there's guys that know all about the science and all this stuff. That's not me. So I do pretty good. I could probably dial it in better, but what I do is going to be a lot better than what most people do. And you don't got to be an intelligent, scientist and know all this stuff just to do the shotgun approach. You just use good stuff. The products I recommend are what I use in my soil, and that's what I'd recommend for you because I know they work. And of course, the other thing that's super important is you want to build the carbon in the soil. So there's a couple biochar companies here. I'd recommend getting the activated biochar to add to your soil, no more than 20% max. I like 10%. And of course, wood chip compost and even the soil humates will add a good carbon source in your garden, which have a really beneficial effect on the soil microbes. So yeah, those are the basics on how to grow higher quality food by using some of these techniques. How many of you guys already use all these 3 things so far? So wow, so a lot of you guys could improve, and that's good, that's a good thing. So I'm glad I'm here talking about this and how important it is. So we talked about the seeds, we talked about using the better techniques, and now the area of my specialty that I get most excited about is we want to use the best food preparation techniques. All right, so you selected the right seeds, you use the best growing practices, now you have super nutritious food, the most nutritious greens and other plant foods, but now you put it in the deep fryer and you fry it. So now you create carcinogens, now you significantly lower those phytochemicals that you worked so hard to get because you selected the right varieties and used the right growing practices. We want to maximize the phytonutrients in the food so that we don't lose them all, so that we can get the benefits from them. So proper food preparation should minimize nutrient loss by maximizing health benefits and making food palatable. Okay? And of course, I advocate for raw whenever possible, as heat processing food can lower nutrition of food and generate new carcinogens. That being said, some food needs to be heat processed to break down the toxins before consumption or make them even better for our microbiome by converting some of the starches into more resistant starches that are not as resistant to digestion if we don't cook them and cool them, for example. How many people eat at least 50% of their diet raw in here? Wow, see, that's where I think needs improvement. I think everybody should eat at least minimum 50%. I'm up at 80%. I used to be 99% for many years, but that's too much. Well, now I'm saying that now. But everybody, that's the goal, is eat more raw food. So that's what I'm really going to get into. And of course, the easiest way to do that, you don't even got to buy nothing. We got the best tools built into us already without buying nothing. It's our teeth, guys. I know all you guys as gardeners have gone out to your garden and your arugula is just coming up. And you pick some baby leaves and you eat it raw and it tastes so amazing. Eat more stuff raw in your garden. Pick the greens in your garden, put it in a bowl, maybe put a salad dressing on it, whether you make salad dressing yourself like I would or buy a pre-made salad dressing. Eat more salads, eat it raw, and more importantly, chew it and masticate it. Why do we feed babies baby food? They don't got no teeth. We got teeth, so we're supposed to chew everything into a mush. How many people take 2 chews and swallow their greens, and on the other end, because I see my ex-girlfriend's poop. Not that I'm looking at her poop, but she forgot to flush. But I see the leaves coming out, I'm like, man, she's got some bad digestion. She better chew better. And if you notice, when I'm eating, I'll be like the last one to finish, because I'm sitting there chewing everything into a mush. So chew into a mush, man. Don't be like my ex-girlfriend. Anyways, our teeth are designed to masticate plant foods into mush. So chew each mouthful into a mush to get the best digestion mixed with saliva in your mouth, which will also help the digestion process as you mix it with the salivary amylase, which will help starting your digestive process. It'll also stimulate your jaw muscles, which is actually very important for your health, and get your digestive juices flowing so your body knows that things are coming down and it's getting ready and prepared to digest them. And eat a salad every day. That's why if you don't remember anything else, at least eat a salad every day as a main meal. So if you're eating chicken and other things, hey, have a big salad and put the chicken as a condiment or the meat as a condiment, whereas most Americans eat a big meat meal and eat the vegetables as a condiment. And that way they're minimizing their phytonutrient content. Not to say that meat is bad, but we need to eat a lot more vegetables, and if you want to eat meat, eat smaller portions. And also that's more sustainable for the planet as well. And of course, next, if you want to get into some fancy equipment, I got the fanciest equipment to do that in the world, and I know the best equipment. So we want to do vacuum blending to keep more phytonutrients. How many people have a Vitamix or other blender that they blend up stuff a lot in? How many of you people that have a blender have a vacuum blender? All right, I know you guys already watched me, because otherwise you don't really learn about this stuff. So I can't demonstrate it today because my batteries went out on mine, but this is a standard BlendTech blender. And then what this has on it is it has a special lid. Actually, I'll talk about this next. But anyways, that you can convert a BlendTech or Vitamix, which we'll talk about next. But in the picture there, we have a dedicated vacuum blender you can buy on Amazon. It's about $80. And why that is different than a standard blender is because what you do is before you blend, you suck out the oxygen out of the carafe. So now you're blending in an oxygen-deprived environment, okay? That's a critical step, because say you fill your blender up to this with a green smoothie or greens, bananas, and coconut water. When you're done blending, the level went up. You haven't created food, you've added a lot of dissolved oxygen into the mixture, okay? And so then because you add a lot of oxygen, the oxygen will react with the antioxidants in there and basically nullify them, I mean, for layman's terms, and make them not available for you now. Furthermore, because the antioxidants aren't in there for later, the smoothie won't store as long because the antioxidants are now oxidizing more. So how many people have made a smoothie, you drink it, oh, it tastes all right, but then you made too much, you let it sit for a couple hours, then you drink it later, you're like, man, this tastes gross. That's because it's all oxidized. I mean, yeah, it's still beneficial, definitely better than Coke or soda, but if you vacuum blended that without the oxygen, 5 minutes left. Oh my gosh. Terrible. So I better hurry up. So anyways, if you vacuum blend without the oxygen, you're going to prevent the oxidation, things are going to store longer, you're going to get more nutrition in there, and let's keep going on. Anyways, you preserve more antioxidants, there's the tables, and it also stores better. So if you currently have a Vitamix or BlendTech, you could buy this kit to put on the top, so you could get the vacuum blending with your current blender. And it's void-system.com. You can go to YouTube and search for Vitamix vacuum blender or BlendTech vacuum blender. You'll find my video, because I'm like the only guy that really promotes the vacuum blenders. And of course, another way to increase your nutrient consumption the best way possible is through juicing. And I recommend slow juicing, and I talked about it earlier, but you can take 1 pound of greens, and I know we're all abundant in greens because your gardens were kicking butt because you're using my practices. And then you can take 1 pound of greens and it turns into 1 cup of juice. So when I start juicing produce, man, I burn through it so quick, and now I can get the benefits from that into meat. And then of course, juicing will keep the soluble fiber, but remove the insoluble fiber. And you get faster and better assimilation and higher amounts of nutrients in your bloodstream. So for example, they did a study where they did carrots raw versus carrots juice with cancer survivors that need high beta carotene content in their blood because it's anti-cancer. And I could have another graph in there that shows like the beta carotene content of the juiced carrots were way higher than the raw carrots because it's easier to absorb because the juicer's breaking it down and our villi, our intestines basically absorb things in a liquid state. And I only advocate for slow juicing, which preserves more beneficial phytonutrients than traditional blending or high-speed juicing. And then my favorite juicer is the NAMA J2 juicer. And why this juicer is special is because it makes juicing easier. So a lot of juicers, you gotta sit there and push each item in, push it in. With this, you open the top, you put everything in there, and then you shut the lid, you turn it on, and you walk away. It'll from everything in here in the hopper, it'll feed it in a slow and moderate rate, pre-cut it a little bit, and it'll make from 24 to 32 ounces of juice in 3 to 5 minutes. You come back, you have a juice made, you can drink, and then you just gotta clean the juicer and you're done. And the way I use this machine is that I will make 7 quarts at one time, then I'll vacuum store the juices, have it in my fridge so I drink 1 quart a day. So I spend 2 hours one day and I have juice for all week with minimal degradation because I'm vacuum storing them, and I made them in a slow juice that puts like 3.3 times less oxygen than a high-speed juicer. And of course, I'll just slide through this really quick because I'm out of time, but I recommend fermentation of your foods under vacuum. That'll prevent the mold from growing. It's another raw food product, and fermentation, once again, fermented foods are some of the healthiest foods, and everybody should eat fermented foods in my opinion. There's studies on that showing more, anti-inflammatory ability. I think they did that work at Stanford than eating more fiber, actually. And of course, I recommend the best cooking techniques. So the best cooking techniques are pressure cooking, steaming, and boiling. We want to cook in water so the temperature does not get too hot. I don't recommend frying, baking above 212 degrees, or microwaving. And here's a summary. Grow a wide variety of colorful and deep colored crops. Grow using trace minerals and microbes. Eat a salad every day, and minimally process your food to maintain the most nutrition and be grateful every day. And if you want to learn more about me, there are my websites and my YouTube channel.
John, thank you.
So what did you guys think? Wow, I'm so impressed. Your commitment to your health is extraordinary because the statistics on YouTube don't lie. Probably like a quarter of the people that started watching this video make it to the end. So I want to thank you. You are exceptional for making it to the end. But honestly, I want you guys to do 2 things for me. Number 1, I want you guys to click the thumbs up, on the video. That'll help out the YouTube algorithm, push this video out to more people, because I believe this is some of the most important information on raw foods, or even just living in this day and age, to maximize the quality of your food by growing it, and also maximize your nutrition by processing it in the best ways possible. And that is what I show you guys on my channel. Also, of course, leave your comments down below. I'd love to know what you thought on this episode today. Do you have any additions? How could I improve this talk to make it even better, to serve the community, the people, the public at large that come to, the Heirloom Expo that aren't necessarily raw or vegan, right? I'm just trying to get them to eat more fruits and vegetables and put it into their brain on that there are specific things you can do to elevate your health, even if you don't want to become a raw vegan or mostly raw vegan like I am these days. So I hope this was really enlightening to you, and I hope you, more importantly, you have the knowledge now. You take some of the knowledge that I share in this video and take 1 step to improve your diet, because, not having knowledge without taking action, it's wasted knowledge, right? So I want you guys to start a garden, start growing some microgreens, start growing some sprouts indoors if it's the winter where you live. If you live outside and you have a patio, grow a little planter box and grow some vegetables in a planter box. If you have a yard or acreage, start some raised beds, or even grow on acreage and start growing your own fruit trees, your own vegetables, and more importantly, start adding the different amendments in the soil. And more importantly, when you select the specific varieties of plants you guys are growing, select ones that are going to be of greater health benefit than ones that are of lesser health benefit. I truly hope that this episode today is, setting you on a little bit variation of your path so that you guys can get healthier. That is the overall reason why I still make my videos after 15 years of making videos today, because there's always more information that I'm learning, and also more things that I could share with you guys to hopefully make a small difference in the world on my little old YouTube channel, where I just have me talking, and of course my amazing video editor, Sandra, who edits all my videos and does such an amazing job. So thank you, Sandra, for making this happen so that I could get this information out to people that is so valuable, and I hope you get to start growing some food one day soon. All right, so if you guys enjoyed this episode, hey, please be sure to give this a big thumbs up. Also be sure to share this video with other people that are interested in eating a nutrient-dense, raw, vegan diet, or even just improving their diet to the next level by growing their own food, growing the right varieties, improving the soil and using the best growing practices, and of course, processing it in the best ways possible. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button so you don't miss out on my new and upcoming episodes of Command every 5 to 7 days. You never know our show up or what you'll be learning on my YouTube channel. Make sure you click the little bell so you get notified as many videos can. And finally, be sure to check my past episodes. My past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. Over 700 episodes at this time on this channel dedicated to teach you guys all about eating a raw, plant-based, fruit and vegetable dominated process in the best ways possible. Diverse diet. So with that, my name is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. We'll see you next time. And until then, remember, keep eating your fruits and vegetables. They're always the best.